Catholic Views. Joining me in studio today is my favorite priest, Father James Morgan. I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that at all.
He's back again.
Yes.
Back again.
Father Morgan is currently the rector at the Cathedral of St. Joseph. He was my priest when I was at Holy Spirit when we first moved here.
Exactly.
So, you are my favorite priest. And that does not mean that lots of other priests aren't also my second favorite priest.
Okay, that's good. Because you might be getting some calls about that one.
I might be. Hey, I thought I was your favorite priest.
I thought it was me.
Father Simple might say that.
Yes, exactly. Oh, if he hears this, you're going to hear from him.
I know. And that's okay. That means I get to talk to him.
Exactly.
Well, welcome. Thanks for coming in today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we are going to talk about St. John Paul II because when this airs, it will be, we will have just passed his feast day, which is October 22nd.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. And the anniversary then of his elevation to the pontificate.
Yes.
I believe is October 21st, or I think it's 21st or 22nd.
Yeah, because his actual ordination is the 22nd, and I think it was the day before when he was elected.
Exactly.
I think
21st.
if I read it right. Yeah.
And this would be, 43 years, I think? 2018, I think, was the 40th
I'm really bad at
anniversary.
math, so.
Yeah. This would be 43.
Yeah.
Year 43 for him.
And this is a little unusual that his feast day is not on the day of his death. Why did they do that? Do you know?
Yeah. I think it's always been tradition that feast days have been named on the death anniversary, on the death date of the particular saint. So,
right.
And that's because, God willing, that's the entrance into heaven.
Right.
So
that's the best day of their new life.
Exactly. And that's what we all live this life for.
Right.
Is to be able to do that. It's all preparation for the next.
So Father Morgan has had some personal experience with JPII.
Yes.
So we wanted to have you come in and tell us about some of that and just talk about him as Pope and so on in his life a little bit.
Yeah. The first time I met, and I'm just going to say JPII just for the sake of being concise.
We don't want to suck up all of our 20 minutes saying the full name, right?
Go through the whole long name. I first met JPII in 1998. It was the Feast of St. Joseph. And I was chosen along with several other seminarians from the North American College, where I was attending seminary in Rome, to serve Mass for the ordination of 3 bishops. One of them was Bishop Harvey from Milwaukee, who's now Cardinal Harvey. An American. That's why they asked us to serve the Mass.
Sure.
And also was Jivitz, now Cardinal Jivitz, who was JPII's personal chaplain.
Oh, okay.
So in Poland, came with him his secretary came with him from Poland.
Sure.
So we served that Mass, and all I had to do was carry a candle, a huge candelabra.
All you had to do, I bet it was heavy.
It was heavy. And, I'm sure there were like 10 or 12 of us. I can't remember how many servers there were. But it was quite the honor. I remember that.
Where was the Mass held?
In St. Peter's Basilica.
Okay.
And we vested, I'll never forget this. And my best friend from the Diocese of Fall River, he was chosen to hold the microphone. So he was always in front of JPII holding the microphone. And so he got the vest in this little sanctuary area. We were allowed in the area where the Pietà is. So we were like
the original
putting our hands
one.
up on the feet of the Blessed Virgin Mary and getting our
goodness.
pictures taken right there, touching the marble that Michelangelo carved into this beautiful statue.
Oh,
so
man.
we did the Mass, and then at the end they had this cordoned off with the huge curtains. We came in, and then we all got to line up, and we got to meet the Pope. So standing there, everybody's going up one at a time, and I get incredibly emotional because my first thoughts are, who am I?
Right.
Who am I, a small town boy from Ipswich, South Dakota, who got out of South Dakota University with no job working construction, and I'm standing here, and other jobs I'm not even going to mention, that are
that story's for another day.
Certainly brought humility, if not humiliation.
Right.
And I got to go up and kiss the papal ring and say, "God bless you, Your Holiness." And he said, "God bless you," and it was incredibly emotional. Second time I met him was in 1999 at Archbishop Carlson. Then Bishop Carlson's Limina visit.
Oh, sure. That happens not every year. It's
every 5 years.
Okay, every 5 years. I wanted to say 10, but I knew that wasn't right.
So I'm trying to remember who was there then. It might have been Father David Stevens. I know Father Scott Trainer was there. Father Jim Mason.
Okay.
There's a picture of us all standing in a line with these big smiles, and of course we're in shock. We're invited in after the meeting is over with, and there's Bishop Carlson and Pope John Paul II leaning up by his desk. And we get to stand like from here to this monitor away. And there's a monitor, I think it is. It's
TV. Yeah.
TV. Yeah.
Same
so
thing.
The backdrop, folks. It's the backdrop. So, he is talking to us, but we're in such a state of shock. Nobody can speak. So he's asking us questions and nobody's saying anything. So he's handing out rosaries blessed by him. And he gets to me and he says, and he says, and where do you go? What pontifical university do you attend? Well, I grab my rosary and I look him right in the eye and I say, Your Holiness, I go to the Angelicum, your alma mater. That's where he said it when he was in Rome.
Right.
The JPII. And he stands up and he looks at me, he gets this big smile on his face and he goes, back and forth, his hands in the air. And we get the giggles. And then we finally are whisked out and we're laughing a little bit. And we asked Bishop Carlson, what's going on? He said, he was doing a jig for you. He was so happy that he was dancing for you. And I'll never forget it. Father Scott Traynor, then just Scott Traynor, seminarian, said, leave it to Morgan to make the Pope dance.
That sounds exactly like Father Scott.
I got that notoriety. I made JP2 dance.
Yes, and if you aren't watching the video, you have to come watch the video, see what Father Morgan just did when he was imitating the jig. It was great.
And then I met him a couple of times after that, but I think those were, in 1999, January 1st, nobody was coming to Rome because they're waiting for the millennium.
Oh, sure.
And I was on vacation. We had done midnight mass and then got on a train and went to the Dolomites, a few of us, and we were staying at a Jesuit house. And it was like midnight while we were watching some movie, and this elderly Jesuit came in and said, "Is there a J.P. Morgan here?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." And I mean, the fact that you get a phone call up in that area,
sure,
it was hard to even imagine. So, but I went to the phone and here it was our rector, Monsignor Timothy Dolan, now Cardinal Dolan in New York City, saying, "JP, your name got drawn out to read the second reading at New Year's Day Mass. Get on a train and get back here." So to get on a train and go back, and I got to read the second reading.
Wow.
At the Feast of the Solemnity of Mary, the Mother of God, and got to sit right very close on the predella, and the first reading was in French by a French woman, and then I walked over and had to wear a suit and tie because you couldn't be a seminarian and read. They couldn't find any lay people, I guess, to speak English. So they went to the seminaries that spoke English and pulled names out, and my name got drawn. And I'll never forget when I walked around the sanctuary area, the Confessio, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to look Pope John Paul II right in the eyes again, and I'm just going to, can't wait. I'm going to do a very profound bow. And I walked around, and I looked right up at him, and his head was down and his eyes were closed. He was taking a little nap. And I bowed and I went, oh gosh, only me. That only happened to me. And went up and did my second reading in English, and got to, at the end, I got this chant, the ending, the word of the Lord, Verbum Domini, in St. Peter's Basilica with 15,000 people. I'll never forget that as long as I live. Yeah.
You've had some good experiences with him.
Yep.
I wonder if he started to recognize you after a while. It's like, I've seen this guy before.
And you knew when you looked him in the face, when your eyes met his eyes, you knew you were staring at a saint.
Yeah.
That's what the amazing.
That's really cool.
That's why you got so emotional, because you knew you were staring at a saint.
Yeah.
A living saint.
Yeah, yeah. I heard another story that somehow he used your chalice.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay, you were a little bit older when you were ordained, right?
I was.
A little bit older than many.
Yep, 41.
Okay, so how did this happen where he used your chalice? Because you were obviously ordained by then.
Right. Actually, it was before that. So it was I was a deacon. And we had this agreement with the Vatican. I don't know where this tradition began, how long before we were there that it began. But the American seminarians, the deacons, we'd always get, if you got a chalice in Rome, whether you bought one from one of the many liturgical stores that are in Rome, or if you had one made by an artisan, we would have a night where they were all lined up, because you're going to take them home with you.
Sure.
And then you could take them down to the Swiss Guards. And the idea was that they would have, they'd take it up to the private chapel, and the Pope would use it.
Wow.
They can't do that anymore, for various reasons. But
Right.
So I took mine down there on the weekend of May 11th, 12th, because it was my mom's birthday on May 11th.
Oh, wow.
And mine was handmade by two women artisans, and one of a kind, a chalice. It had incorporated a few little diamonds that my father had as a telephone man that he had in these tie tacks for years of service, and my mother, a couple of rubies for her service to Avera.
Oh, wow. Okay.
St. Luke's. And so they were incorporated in a Celtic cross that's in the chalice. But so he used this chalice May 11th and 12th of 2001.
2 times even.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's on the bottom of it. I've got it written there. And I remember getting it back, and it was all full of fingerprints. And you could see like the lip, you could see all these. And I'm going, I'm not washing this. I'm not washing this. I'm not washing this.
But you had to wash it, didn't you?
Yeah, had to clean it.
I assume you still use it.
But it's a second-class relic. Of course
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it on special occasions.
Sure.
The anniversary of my father's death, because it's in memory of him.
Sure.
I do it on other various occasions, Easter or Christmas.
Right.
So high solemnities.
That makes sense. If you just joined us, we are talking to Father James Morgan about JPII, who just had his feast day a few days ago. So, is that all the stories?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm sure there'll be more that might
One might
up
pop
here
into
and
your
there.
head.
Exactly.
Okay. So, what do you think are some of the most important things from his pontificate?
Certainly his prolific writing.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has written as much as St. Pope John Paul II has. What is it? Something like 14 encyclicals that he wrote during his pontificate, and some of the most defining encyclicals that we have in our Catholic teaching and our Catholic faith. There's just a few of them that I'll mention, like Redemptor Hominis, it's on the redemption of humanity, very well known. Familiaris Consortio on the family, the Christian family. Veritatis Splendor.
Oh, yes.
On the splendor of truth, the truth of our existence.
I've been hearing about that one a little bit more lately.
A thick one, yeah. And it's very, very dense. To read that, you read a couple pages at a time, and then you stop. And then
take a week to think about it, huh?
One of my favorites, Fides et Ratio. The relationship between faith and reason.
Oh, yeah.
So I really love that document.
I like that one.
Yeah, I really love that document. It was really well written. Evangelium Vitae, the Gospel of Life. I remember reading that in the seminary, and how well written that was, and that really, the gift of life and how precious, and the dignity of life, and that really struck a chord with me. Reading it then in minor seminary when I was a pre-theologian.
I think I've used that one in a couple of stories for the bulletin.
16 books he's written. Love and Responsibility, which every priest knows that they have on their bookshelf for marriage preparation if they need it. Gift and Mystery, I think about. At Crossing the Threshold of Hope.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that one.
Which is a book I remember reading at night in bed. Before I was even thinking of the priesthood at all. And how that book moved me. To do something for the good of the church and for the good of God, and maybe discern a vocation, since I was single and working, and that was a great book. 3 plays too. He was a playwright. Oh my
gosh, I didn't know that.
3 plays before he was even ordained a priest, or right when he was ordained a priest, and he wrote these plays. The most notable one is one's called The Jeweler's Shop. It's about 3 married couples. It's in 3 acts, but it's like 3 different vignettes. And it's kind of autobiographical, because in the second vignette, it's about a married couple whose marriage is quite empty and things are not going well. And so she's thinking about divorce, and so she goes to her parish priest, because he's the one that took her and other young people on hiking trips in the mountains. Well, that's what JP2 did. When he was a priest in Krakow and Poland.
Yeah.
He's known for that.
That's right. So there's also Theology of the Body, which he did not actually write, the way I understand it. They're sermons?
Correct. They are a series of sermons given over, was it like 3 years or something, or 5 years? And a series of sermons that were collected that he did, obviously calculated on purpose, which they were then compiled, and then the book was called Theology of the Body, is what it was called. And what Theology of the Body is, it is an in-depth look on Christian anthropology, our understanding of Christian anthropology, meaning why did God create us? What did he create us for?
Right.
And I mean, I use that in marriage preparation.
Oh, yeah.
I always tell my marriage prep couples, here's my outline, my curriculum. It's like 9 pages long. It's a little bit of Christian anthropology mixed with a little bit of theology of the body.
Sure.
So,
and I think it's really important for younger kids to junior high school to be
Absolutely.
exposed to that, because that really helps them understand who they are and what they're supposed to do with themselves.
exactly. And
as they move along.
Yeah, the sacredness of the body, the sacredness of sexuality.
Yep.
And if you understand from the beginning, Genesis, and that's what, basically JPII took Genesis and just, and then the teachings on the sacrament from the Gospels and just expounded upon them to a great, great depth.
Yep. Okay, so trying to decide where to go next. He had a great devotion to the Eucharist.
He did, yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I feel like that's really important right now, given some of the things that the USCCB is going to be working on with some further teachings on the Eucharist.
Right.
It might be good to hear what his thoughts were.
He was known to spend hours in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and not just sitting there, but, and this goes way back to his seminarian days. You remember, he survived World War II.
That had to be very influential on his life.
Huge. He basically all of his seminarian years were underground.
Right.
His ordination was underground. I mean, it was all done in clandestine.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah, in a clandestine manner. So, but he was known for lying prostrate on the floor in front of the tabernacle for hours. There's many stories that go with this. Some cute ones about his visit to the United States, about how he went, I think it was a seminary in Dunwoody in New York, and he was laying there, and somebody wanted to go in, and because he had his next appointment, and interrupt him, and they said, no, don't even bother. Like Bishop Jivitz, don't even bother going in there to do that. Just leave him alone. And I think somebody did, and they got no response. So he said, I'll be on in a little bit, or whatever it was, and then an hour later he walks out. Or when they hid the Eucharist from him, and it wasn't in the main
to keep
chapel.
him on schedule, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. And they put it in a little side chapel, and he goes, I know that Jesus is here someplace. He's right there. And, that's just mystical.
Yeah.
It's mystical. And so he had this mystical devotion to the Eucharist. And to watch him say Mass, the many times that I was able to, by the grace of God, to watch him say Mass, to be there and participate in Mass, and especially those times when I was up close. And the look on his face when he would elevate the Holy Eucharist. And remember, when I was there, he was already suffering from Parkinson's to a high degree. And he would lift the Eucharist with one hand, and he would hold it there. And at that moment when he would gaze at Jesus and the Eucharist, that something, again, mystical was happening, something between him and the Lord. And he was taken into another dimension at that point. Father Jim Mason, I'll bring this up, had the great blessing of actually deaconing a Mass for him.
Oh,
yes. So he might be your next
interviewee for next year.
For next year at this time when we celebrate this.
He's probably got some good stories. That had to be a great honor for him. What do you think? We've got about a minute and a half left or so. Why do you think people were so drawn to him? Because they were absolutely drawn to him.
Well, first of all, his charisma. He had great charisma. And he was personable. Just like talking about what he did with young people and young adults back in his days as a priest in Krakow. And in Warsaw. So the charisma, his ability to draw people to him, especially young people and young adults. And this is why we have World Youth Day.
Right. He started that.
He started that, and he saw the importance of starting that movement. So his charisma and the fact that he was so personable, but he told the truth.
Yeah.
And as we know, if you hear these reports, and why did World Youth Day become so famous? Because he told the truth to those young people, and they wanted to hear the truth.
They were hungry for it.
They were hungry for it. And young people today still want to hear the truth. And I see that at the cathedral so many times. I mean, the young families, the young adults that I have who attend, they want to hear the truth. They want to know the truth of the faith and the truth of the church, because this is all about getting to heaven.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, and so I think those three things that I can think of off the top of my head, charisma, and that he was personable, that he loved young people, and he wanted to be with the people. and that he was not afraid to preach the truth. And I would link that to his knowledge.
Yeah.
He was such a knowledgeable, wise, person, man. A man, priest, a bishop, cardinal, pope. He had just a lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
And when you look at his writings and how dense they really are, many of them, he was a deep, deep thinker.
Yeah. And as you said, you could kind of see the holiness on him. You just had this feeling this man's going to be a saint, or you knew it just from seeing it.
And how can you be such a deep thinker and yet still relate to people, be gregarious, social? That's a hard thing to do because you're either one or the other.
Right.
Right. I'm the social one, the gregarious one.
You are.
Not necessarily the deep thinker like JP2.
Well, I don't know if you're not God a deep thinker. But,
but yeah, so those components, those characteristics made him who he was.
Yeah.
And so that still stands out for us today,
Absolutely.
I think, as a saint.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to talk to you more about it, but our time is up. We have to leave some for Dr. Bergwald at the beginning of the show.
That's good.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your stories with us. I have a feeling there might be some more there that you might not be telling us, but I know there's lots of stories.
I would
Father
tell you about
Morgan.
the train ride back was very, very interesting.
I bet it was.
Oh my
okay.
gosh.
We'll catch that another time.
All right.
Thanks, Father
Thanks,
Morgan.
Renee. God bless you.
All right. If you haven't found us on social media yet, you can find us at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Go to YouTube, look at this video so you can see Father Morgan's little jig that he did to imitate Pope JP2 or Saint JP2. That is it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.